Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spark My Muse. I am your host, Lisa Colon DeLay, and you're listening to Soul School Lesson 297. This is the episode that pairs with the one on Dragon's Wine. I'm taking this from a book about Evagrius Ponticus, who speaks about dragon's wine and angel's bread. We already did dragon's wine, and I will be linking to that for this episode, so you can go back to that if you didn't hear it. And angel's bread is what Evagrius calls meekness. It struck me as curious the first time I heard meekness referred to as angel's bread, but as Evagrius explains it, it makes a lot of sense. And remembering that we should be eating angel's bread is something kind of like a clever mnemonic device that can call to mind how we should be transforming and acting in the world to bring heaven to earth. As we know from the Beatitudes, Jesus says, the meek will inherit the earth. And what he's speaking about is that the meek are like the angels. And only the angels who would be pure and holy, and they would be the kind of creatures who could manage something like that. If we are like the angels in that way, we can inherit the earth too. This is an eschatological concept about final culmination of all things, when God puts everything to right and heaven and earth merge. This is also called Kingdom Come, and it began when Jesus inaugurated it by resurrecting from the dead and conquering death. Evagrius also speaks of meekness as having the function of forbearance and having no rage. It's not something that you just get, it's something that you work on and you become spiritually formed in meekness. It has a lot to do with becoming humble, laying your ego aside. And Evagrius talks about all the vices as perversions of the soul's power. I like how he puts that. Virtues are part of the soul's goodness, but the vices oppose those, and they are perversions of the soul's power. When we speak of meekness as angel's bread, we also know that angels are in the presence of God. We're told in the Bible that humans cannot see the face of God. We can only glimpse part of God's countenance, but not be in God's presence. But angels can be, and are spoken of as saying, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. And those angels are created beings, but they are sinless, and we're told that they have free choice. The demons are the ones who've chosen to pervert goodness, and the angels have chosen loyalty and to protect us. Angel's bread, of course, has to do with the things of heaven and participating in the things of heaven. And it is not a coincidence, then, that Jesus says in the Gospel of John, I am the bread of life, who came from heaven. I am the bread of heaven. To participate in the things of heaven is to be a person who is growing in meekness. On page 119 of this book, Dragon's Wine and Angel's Bread, the teaching of Evagrius Ponticus on anger and meekness by Gabriel Bunge. He has a quote here by Evagrius. It says, in the age to come, the angry person will not be numbered among the angels, nor will authority be entrusted to that one. For that person does not see because of the passions, and that one is easily provoked against those who are led by him or her. That person falls away from contemplation, and he or she endangers those who are entrusted to them. However, the state of angels is alien to both. So falling away from contemplation, which is prayer, and endangering others that are entrusted to you are both states and ways of being that are foreign to angels. And the final bit I'll read from Evagrius comes on page 122. By grace, the angel-like person experienced eschatological elevation of his or her already here on earth who came from heaven. When purification of all passions, he or she is allowed to rest their head on Christ's breast, as once did John, the evangelist and theologian, the disciple of Jesus. In particular, this happens at the time of prayer, when such a person receives from the Father the most glorious gift of true prayer in spirit and in truth, which makes them a theologian, and thus makes a person who speaks not only about God and God's works, but also bears witness to God from the most heartfelt intimacy. Henceforth, this person no longer praises God like the angels and the angelic people because of God's creation, but in an ineffable way, a human praises God because of being human. Only the one who has experienced this themselves can understand what this means. So what is beautiful about humans in comparison with angels is that we are created and have not been pure, but we can come back into reconciliation and love with God that rids us of these perversions of the soul, rids us of the vices, and moves us towards the virtues. Keep in mind that Evagrius Ponticus was a hermit in the desert in Egypt in the 300s CE. A lot of what he did was translation work and teaching new monastics how to live in the desert simply and devotedly to God. He, of course, had long times of solitude and prayer and fasting on his own. He was a very extremely devoted person. He was highly educated and had once been a cleric in Constantinople. He had left wealth and position behind for the desert and really considered intellectually and theologically what all sorts of things meant in terms of becoming Christ-like, or we could say angelic, to participate in the things of heaven, instead of participating in the things of earth that decay and don't last. I don't particularly find Evagrius relatable in that my life isn't like his, and I can't really pattern it after his life. But I find him encouraging and inspirational because he guides us in ways that help us to see a little better what it is like to participate in the life of heaven, what it is like to eat the bread of life. Eating means recognizing. And as we slowly recognize, we begin eating and digesting and meditating. It is a transformational process that happens. We're never done with that process. And none of the desert hermits, as holy as they might seem, were ever done with the process either. I hope you enjoyed this short snippet about Evagrius and about angel's bread, which is meekness, the virtue of angels. Be sure to head over to find part 2 at sparkmymuse.substack.com or sparkmymuse.com to get a link to click over to there. There you will find images and extras, personal reflections, and links to other articles. If you're able to give, I thank you for doing that. I will join you again next Wednesday. And until next time, I wish you blessing and peace.